Okay, so before we jump in, a quick heads up. The story we're getting into today is intense. It's based on a first-hand account, and it deals with some really extreme violence and psychological trauma that could be pretty disturbing for some of you. We're about to explore a journey that starts in a totally normal life and just descends into a kind of darkness that honestly most of us can't even begin to imagine. So, let's get into it.
You know, this quote really just hits the nail on the head. We all have this curiosity, right, about the hidden corners of the internet. But some doors, once you open them, you can never really close them again. What you see can change you, and it just replays in your mind over and over, turning your world into this living nightmare. And for the man whose story this is, that nightmare became his reality.
So how does a story like this even start? Well, it doesn't begin in some shadowy alleyway. It starts in the most ordinary, everyday kind of place. Let's take a look at the life our narrator was living before one single night changed absolutely everything.
So picture this. He had his own construction business, so he was his own boss, which is pretty great. His girlfriend, Jasmine, she worked from home as a financial advisor. Their life was just normal, comfortable. They'd take trips, party on the weekends. It was a life that felt completely safe. They had this one simple rule. Saturday nights were for me time, no questions asked. Jasmine was an artist, so she'd get lost in her painting. And he had this tradition with his three best friends, Joey, Max, and Steve. They'd all hop on a video call and watch horror movies together. Just a simple, harmless ritual, right? But it was this exact tradition that ended up opening the door for real-life horror to step right off the screen and into his world.
So one Saturday night, the horror movies just weren't doing it for them. They were bored. And that's when his friend Steve asks this question that changes everything. He mentions his brother has been on the dark web and has this flash drive full of videos. So Steve's brother joins the call and, well, against their better judgment, curiosity won.
Steve's brother plugs in the flash drive and hits play. The four friends are all just staring at their screens, probably thinking this is just some kind of extreme indie horror movie. They had absolutely no idea that what they were about to see was real and that it was going to shatter their sense of safety forever. And this is what they saw. It wasn't a movie. There's a girl, suspended in the air, tied up with ropes. And then a man in a Joker mask walks up to her, holding a machete. What happened next was just brutal, real, and completely horrific. His reaction was immediate. He literally threw up, right then and there. His friends were physically shaking. For the next 3 weeks, he was just paralyzed by anxiety and paranoia. He saw threats everywhere. He started pulling away from everyone, just terrified that anyone could be a part of this hidden, violent world. And all of this from watching a single video.
Okay, so now we're going to jump forward 2 years. That one single traumatic night, it was just the beginning of this massive downward spiral. In the years that followed, his entire life just completely came apart at the seams. I mean, just look at this timeline. It was just one hit after another. First, he and Jasmine break up. It was mutual, but still a huge loss. Then his dad dies suddenly from a heart attack. He was only 45. That just sent him into the spiral of anxiety and depression. He felt more alone than he'd ever felt in his life, and he just completely cut himself off from everyone.
So now, the days are just impossibly long. Every second is a struggle. And in the depths of that isolation, desperate for literally anything to kill time, his mind went back to the one thing that had once horrified him more than anything else. Now, it's really important to understand this. He wasn't looking for a thrill. He was trying to escape his own crushing reality. He downloaded the Tor browser, which is what lets you get on the internet anonymously, and with a little help from his friends, he started exploring. He had this specific, really morbid goal in mind: find that room, find the man in the Joker mask.
I mean, just think about that transformation for a second. The guy who was so traumatized by one video that he couldn't function for weeks was now actively searching for them. He eventually found the killer, who had this big online following. And soon, watching these horrific live streams became his new routine. It was the only way he could fall asleep. He was now a regular, just waiting for the killer to go live.
And this wasn't someone else judging him. This is his own self-assessment. He looked at what he had become, and he recognized that the very darkness that once made him sick to his stomach had now completely consumed him. In his own words, he said, "I had become a devil."
It's in this state,
completely desensitized, that his dark new habit was about to collide with his past in the most unimaginable, horrific way possible.
So one night, he's just scrolling on his phone and a notification pops up. Mask Hunter is live. Without even a second thought, he joins the stream. He's just one of thousands of anonymous viewers from all over the world.
As usual, there's a new victim. This time, she's wearing a goat mask. As she starts to wake up and struggle, he hears her scream. And that voice, it just sent this instant chill right down his spine. His heart completely stopped. His hands started to shake. His heart was just pounding at his chest. That voice, it sounded exactly like Jasmine's. He leans closer to the screen, his mind just refusing to accept what his ears were telling him. And then, he knew. It was her. It was his ex-girlfriend, Jasmine. In that moment, he was completely and utterly powerless. Just another face in the crowd, one spectator among thousands, watching the woman he once loved, trapped in a killer's room.
And he knew how this ended. He'd been watching for 3 months. No one ever got out alive. He started frantically typing in the chat, begging for her life, but his messages were just swallowed up by a flood of others demanding torture. He thought about calling the police, but what could he even say? That he's on the dark web? That his ex-girlfriend is in some unknown room somewhere in the world? He was just paralyzed.
What happened next, and everything that came after that horrific night, would permanently break him. It would shatter his entire perception of life, of justice, of reality itself.
While he was frozen in panic, a bounty suddenly appeared in the chat, a huge donation, and the request was simple: finish her in 3 seconds. And just like that, it was over. The live stream ended and his world shattered into a million pieces.
So this is the world he lives in now? Life has just lost all meaning for him. Nothing's good, nothing's interesting, it's all just a painful, cruel joke. He can't accept that Jasmine is gone, and he really can't accept that her killer is still out there, totally free. Ideas like karma and justice, they're just empty words to him now.
And this really brings us to the final, haunting takeaway from his story. This core belief that life is just unfair. That sometimes awful, terrible things happen to people who don't deserve it, and there's no reason why. It's a bleak thought, but it's reality that he was forced to live with. A reality that all started with a single click on one perfectly ordinary Saturday night.